I'm Christopher Clark, publisher of NACD Directorship magazine, and this is BoardVision. I'm joined today by Rich Daly, CEO of Broadridge Financial and a director at ADT. Welcome, Rich.
Chris, how are you?
I'm doing great. Rich, my first question to you is really about the obstacles that directors face, why they're hesitant to really communicate effectively with their shareholders.
Well, it's a great question, and what the obstacle comes down to, Chris, is the how. You know, when the world went from directors didn't talk to investors to, you know what, we should probably have them talk to the largest investors. You know, whether it's 10, 15, 25, given the role of a director, that's not a full-time role, and we need to always remember that. Talking with 10, 15, 25 people over a 3-month period, a 6-month period, seems like a reasonable, tangible task. Now let's move to a company like Broadridge where there are a couple of 100,000 shareholders, or to the mega cap companies where there are millions of shareholders. So, you know, I just can't picture a director on a Sunday afternoon sitting down with a list of 4 million shareholders and saying, gee, where do I start to call? It's just not practical. The answer to this, though, is technology. All right? With sentiment technologies, you can poll shareholders to, one, ask them what they're thinking, and two, also communicate to them thoughts you have about the future of the company and what you believe is in their interest as a director to make sure that the alignment's there.
So let me follow up on that. So clearly technology is the platform which would take away the hesitancy. The trepidation may have been in some of the protocols?
The trepidation would be just the practical reality of boards didn't communicate with shareholders. Then it was the largest of holders, and now one of your principles is all shareholders. By using all shareholders in a stat sampling, less than 1,000 shareholders polled, boards can have with confidence the view of those shareholders to a deviation rate of less than 0.5%.
It's an excellent point. And you know, let's jump ahead a little bit and say that this is the shareholder engagement, shareholder communications is moving ahead, that it's much more common practice, that they've gotten over the hesitancy and the trepidation. What would you advise directors? You are a director, you're clearly on 2 boards. How should they operate differently?
One thing that I find fascinating is we live in a very complex world. Activist shareholders are a reality, and a bigger reality than ever before. And the focus on managing shareholders and large shareholders is more intense than ever before. But there's an unspoken or unheard from group out there called retail investors who really are aligned with the company, because if they weren't, they wouldn't have purchased the shares to begin with.
In the first place.
That group is not a complex investment strategy. That's a group that did their work or received the advice that this would be a good position for them to own, okay, because they're looking for a return, all right? They're generally longer term than people give them credit for, and because in reality they vote with their feet, meaning if that strategy no longer works, they're likely to sell their shares, unlike an index fund, all right? And moving forward, what they'll do is go into a new position. So if they own you, they support you. For all companies, even the largest of companies, that group is generally around 1/3 of the outstanding shares. That group right now, in the normal process for most companies, is voting at about 10%. With technology again, okay, particularly using electronic technologies, that group can pretty easily be raised close to 50%. That's picking up 10 to 12 points of votes of people who every company and every investor should want all investors represented. That 10 to 12 points is generally very supportive of management, all right? And in a world of say on pay, and a world where people are looking in certain situations to run a vote no campaign or withhold campaign against directors, to leave an easy 10 to 12% out there that's supportive of management is really pretty silly. You need to understand who your shareholders really are, and not just at, I'll call it, the 100,000 foot level, but really get a detailed analysis.
Rich, thank you for your insights. On behalf of Broadridge Financial and NACD, thank you for viewing today. I'm Chris Clark, and this is BoardVision.